Hello friends, this is English video 3, the English version of the Hindi video 3. In the Hindi video 3 which I made previously, there were some issues. The issues were because I am trying new apps. In that video, the audio was less, it was difficult to hear even with microphones on. From now on there shouldn't be an issue. I have tried many apps and I finally found one. So the quality should improve from now onwards. Let's start. If you have some issues with Hindi video 3, you can watch this one instead. In the previous videos, we talked about the basics of IAS, IPS and then the forest service. Let's continue with that. Today we will start with the cadre system and the notification of the IAS. This is generally how your cadre system gets filled. This is my cadre system for the IAS. For example, Zone 1 Haryana, Zone 2 UP, etc. Let's discuss what this zonal system is. I told you that the form gets filled in Feb-March, then prelims happens in June. This is generally the case. After coronavirus, the system has become different now. After that, you fill a DAF 1. In this, you give your documents. Then mains happens. Those who clear it fill DAF 2. In this DAF 2, you need to give two preferences: service preference and state preference. What is there in service preference and what is there in state preference? Service preference means there are 21 services now. So IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS, etc., etc. Which one do you want? Which ones you don't want, etc. In which order you want, which ones you want to fill, which ones you don't want to fill. For example, let's say a person is already an IRS. So there is no need to fill all the services. That person can simply fill IAS, IPS, IFS because these are better than IRS generally. So, and that's how the service preferences can be filled. If you are already a member, then you can fill this way. If you are not a member, it is strongly recommended that you fill all of them, so that you don't get a service which you don't want. For example, let's say you are not a member of any services. You are giving your first attempt, and yet you only want IAS and you don't fill anything else. So let's say a person gets IAS and no other service is filled. In that case, if the rank is good enough for IAS, the person will get IAS. But otherwise, that person won't get anything because he hasn't filled any services, and he or she could have gotten IPS, IFS, IRS, etc., which are also good services. The next thing is state preferences. Out of all these services, IAS, IPS, IRS, etc., only two are called AIS, that is All India Services. All these services are All India. It's not like you can't be posted anywhere. In all these services, you can be posted anywhere in India. But in these two services, there is a state system known as cadre system or zonal system. You are hired by the central government, but you serve in the states. This is the difference. In this case, you are hired by the center, you serve for the center. You may serve in a state, but you are not under that state. For example, if an IRS is posted in Haryana, that person won't be answerable to the CM of Haryana. That person will be answerable to the Ministry of Finance of central government. If an IAS is posted in Haryana or an IPS is posted in Haryana, that person will be answerable to Chief Minister of Haryana. This is the difference, and that's why these two are known as All India Services. In the civil service exam, these two are All India Services. But I told you that the prelims that happens in generally June is common for these 21 services and for Indian Forest Service. Indian Forest Service is also an All India Services. These are the only three All India services. All of the services are All India. In this case, you can be posted anywhere. You can even be sent to foreign lands to represent India. IAS also goes to foreign lands to represent India. For example, IAS can go to United Nations, etc. IPS can also go to foreign lands. For example, IPS can go to Interpol, that is the International Police. IPS can also go to FATF, Financial Action Task Force, etc. So this is the case. But these three are All India Services. So if you fill prelims form and if you say that you want to be considered for both of them, Then if you clear IFOS prelims, you write IFOS mains also along with this mains, which is different than IFOS mains. Then if you clear IFOS mains, you again fill DAF 2 for IFOS also. So in this case, what will happen if a person fills both these services? The prelims will be same, mains will be different for 21 services and Indian Forest Service. Then let's say, let's discuss in detail. Prelims form is same for 21 and Forest Service. So let's say a person clears both of them. Then the person fills DAF 1 for both of them. Then the mains happens. Mains is different, not same for both of them. The person appears in mains. Let's say the person clears mains of both. Then the person fills DAF 2, which is different for again both. So in this DAF 2, what is asked is service preference and state preference. In case of Forest Service, there won't be any service preference. There is only one service. You cannot give any preference. But in this Forest Service, there will be a state preference because Forest Service is a all India service. All this I am telling you, all the videos I have recorded till now is simply to teach you this, which will come later. So now let's start with zonal system or cadre system. Zonal system or cadre system came into being because there were some issues with the previous system. The simplest way to allocate a state is to open all the states for everyone and just tell them that okay, here are the states, just fill them and you can get anyone. For example, I am from Haryana. So if all the states are open for me, I can fill Haryana, then Punjab, then let's say Uttarakhand, then Himachal, Rajasthan, UP, Bihar. This is the simplest system in which this was the system before 2017. From 2017 new cadre policy has come. So now how do you get states now? In this case the problem is that a person from Haryana will most probably get Haryana or nearby state, so national integration won't happen. The person should be able to go to all other states, so that the reason is that if in any of these states, for example let's say Nagaland or Mizoram or Manipur, any kind of secessionism happens, this word means that that state wants to secede from the union, from the central government. It wants to become another country by itself and it wants to leave India. So the reason for sending the higher bureaucracy to other states is that so that this may not happen. If the higher bureaucracy is from outside the state, the chances are that they won't be in favor of secessionism and will take active steps to prevent it. The other reason is that in general a person from Haryana should go to other states so as to understand their cultures and bring its knowledge with him or her. This is one of the ways to foster national unity also. So this system has been discarded, and rightly so. This was a good for nothing system. It was actually very bad. Now the new system which has come is close to perfect. It is a balance of both choices as well as national integration. You can choose, but at the same time you have to fill almost all the states. In fact, you have to fill all the states now. If you don't, there are some repercussions we will discuss later. Now what has happened is zones plus cadre system is there. What is this zones plus cadre system? India has been divided in zones. Zone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 zones are there. For example, the zone 1 is northern India, then below northern, then zone 3 is middle India, this is northeast, this is south India. Let's discuss in detail zone 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So in these states, what are the states? Haryana, Punjab, Uttarakhand, Himachal, HP, then Rajasthan. These are the states. There was initially also another one, that is Agmut. Then there was J&K. There was J&K in the beginning. Now J&K has been made into a UT, so it comes under this one. This stands for Arunachal, Goa, Mizoram and Union Territories. Arunachal, Goa, Mizoram are 3 states and Union Territories. Union Territories like Delhi, Chandigarh, Pondicherry, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu. These 2 different union territories have been combined now, so they are now counted as one union territory. Then there is Lakshadweep, Andaman and Nicobar Islands, etc. Now 2 more UTs are there, J&K and Ladakh. So if a person gets this cadre, that person can be sent to Arunachal, Goa, Mizoram or these, and that person can keep on shifting between all these cadres. For example, if you like traveling, this is the best cadre for those who like to travel and want to see new cultures. There was an All India rank 1 girl. She was physically handicapped. Her name was Ira Singhal. She secured All India rank 1. She filled this cadre as the first preference because she said that she likes to travel and wants to see new cultures. So those who like that can fill this one as the first preference. This is a very good card both for IS and especially for IPS. J&K is no longer a cadre, a state. It is now a union territory. So this comes under Arunachal, Goa, Mizoram Union Territory. Now the second one, the zone 2 is below northern. So it is UP, Bihar, Odisha. Odisha, Jharkhand. And zone 3 is the middle India. So it comes as MP, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Chhattisgarh. Zone 4th is northeast one. So it comes as Assam, Meghalaya, West Bengal, then Sikkim, then Arunachal and Goa, Arunachal and Mizoram is here. So rest of the states are here, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram. Zone 5th is South India. So Telangana, Andhra Pradesh, then Karnataka, then Tamil Nadu, then Kerala. This is generally how I have filled. Let me show you. Now I am from Haryana. Now these zones are numbered as zone. These Roman numerals are there 1, 2, 3, 4. You can give any number to them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. For example, I am from Haryana, so I will put this as zone 1 because my state lies here. Now suppose someone is from Telangana, so that person will fill this as zone 1 because his state lies here. You can choose anyone. Even if you are from Telangana, but you don't want to serve in Telangana or in the south and you want to serve in, let's say, middle India, so a person from Telangana can fill this as first preference and then any of them as first preference. For example, let's say MP. So this is how you can fill the states. Now I am from Haryana, so I will fill this as zone 1, then this as zone 2, then this as zone 3, then this one as zone 4 and this one as zone 5. In my view, South India is better than Northeast. These views can change, these preferences can change. For a person from Jharkhand, this will be zone 1 and rest of the zones can change. Once you have fixed them, they are fixed. You cannot change them now. So now how will the states get allocated? Let's say the person gets All India rank 1. So now the person gets All India rank 1. So let's say that person is from Haryana and he has filled zone 1 first preference as Haryana. The cadre allocation policy says whatever your home state is, for example my home state is Haryana, whatever your home state is, if you don't fill it as the first preference of your first zone, I have filled this as zone first, I have filled this as first preference. If you haven't filled your home state as first preference or first zone, you cannot get your home state no matter what. So if I want Haryana, I have to fill it as zone 1, preference 1. So let's say person gets all India rank 1 and that person is from Haryana and that person has filled Haryana as zone 1 and state 1, state preference first in zone first. So now how will the state get allocated? First the system, the computer will see what is the zone 1 and what is the preference 1. It is Haryana. Let's say the person is from general category. Let's say in that year there is no seat in Haryana for general category. Only SC seat is there. So that person cannot get Haryana despite securing first rank, and then counter will shift to second preference. Second is this one, so counter will go down. In this case, let's say UP is filled as the first preference. UP is a big state, it has a lot of seats, so this can get allocated. This is how the counter proceeds. So let's say the person has gotten in general category the last seat. Let's say at 80 rank IS closes. So the person has become an IS. He or she is the last IS in the list, and that person is from Haryana and from general category. So how will the counter proceed? Let's say this is how the zones have been filled. So first the person will be seen what is Haryana, what is zone 1 preference 1. Now let's say the person doesn't fill this state as the first preference and instead fills Punjab as first and Haryana as second. The home state is Haryana. In that case, the person won't get Haryana at all. There is no chance that he or she can be allocated. So the first preference is this. As the list is rank is very big. The rank is at the last one. So the person will get something at the end. So how will the counter proceed? From Punjab to UP. Then next zone 3. Zone 3 has been filled as this one. So counter will go to this. Let's say then MP has been filled. Rank is last. You cannot get the beginning states. You will get something at the end. Then this is number 5. So counter won't go here. Counter will go here. Zone 4. Then let's say Telangana has been filled. So now counter will go to 5th. So now Assam Meghalaya. Assam Meghalaya is a joint cadre. If you get Assam Meghalaya, you can get either Assam or Meghalaya. Later the bifurcation happens. In the beginning you will get both the states. This is the only joint cadre and this is the joint cadre where Arunachal, Goa, Mizoram, 3 states are in one. Along with that there is also Union Territory. So now the rank is last, so the counter will move on. Where will the counter go from now? From now, zone 5th is the last one. It will again go back to zone 1. So it will go to zone 1. Now Haryana is the home state. And Haryana hasn't been filled as zone 1 preference 1. Zone 1 preference 1 was Punjab. So Haryana cannot be allocated to this candidate no matter what. So the counter won't see Haryana. Haryana will be rejected. The only way to get Haryana for a Haryana home state person is to fill it at first preference. Counter will go here. Then again Bihar will be seen. Then Maharashtra. Then third, after that 4th. And so on. Finally, something could be allocated. Since the rank is the last one, something has to be allocated. So it will be something at the end. Let's say Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland or Kerala. And this way the counter proceeds. Now let's say the candidate is from Telangana. So how will the candidate fill the states? The person will fill, I think, this one as first. Then the candidate may fill this as second. Then this as third. Then I think northeast as 4th. Then this as 5th. So how will the counter proceed? Zone 1 preference 1. Telangana. Let's say Telangana is the home state. This is the only way that Telangana can be got. If Telangana is the home state, it has to be zone 1 preference 1. So now from Telangana it will move on to zone 2. Then it will go to MP. Then it will go to UP. Then it will go to zone 4th, Assam Meghalaya. Then it will go to Punjab. Let's say rank is 80, which is the last one. So counter will keep moving this way, and the same something at the last could be allocated. So after Punjab, zone 1 again. So Andhra Pradesh. and this is how you get the state. I am telling you all this to beginners so that they know that there is no guarantee that if you get All India rank 1, you will get your home state or something close to it. You can get something far away also. This is a very good cadre allocation policy. This is because although it gives you choices also, but it also ensures that a candidate from North India can go to South and so on. For example, I am from Haryana. Let's say the previous policy is there. I am from Haryana. According to my rank, the counter will from Haryana will move to UP, MP, then Telangana, then Assam, Meghalaya. So there is a chance that I will get Telangana or Assam, Meghalaya before the counter moves to Punjab. So this is the difference. This has to be remembered. This is the new cadre allocation policy. There are other rules also. Firstly, if you don't fill at your home state as zone 1 preference 1, you cannot get your state. There is another rule also. You don't need to fill all the zones and all the states. For example, let's say I am from Haryana. So I don't fill these. I say that I don't want them. I say not opted. The reason is that I want the counter to jump from Haryana to Punjab to Uttarakhand to Himachal to Rajasthan to Agmut. J&K is now gone as a state. So now, how will I be allocated? Let's say I get All India rank 80, last one. So now I am from Haryana. I have filled this as zone 1. This is the only zone I have filled, and this is the first preference Haryana. So Haryana will be considered. This is the only way Haryana will be considered. Then the counter will proceed to Punjab, Uttarakhand, Himachal, Rajasthan, Agmut. Then I cannot be allocated anything because my rank is the last one. So what will happen? I will be put in a common list. I will be put in a common list, and from that common list, whatever remains, whichever state remains, which has not been allocated to any other person, I will get that. So let's say my All India rank is 20. Now in this case rank is good enough, so I can get something here. Let's say rank is now 40. There is a chance that I won't get anything. If I would have filled all the states, I can ensure that I don't end up with a state which I don't want. The cadre allocation policy doesn't want these type of candidates who don't want to serve anywhere in India. The government of India wants those candidates who want to serve all over India. So the cadre allocation policy states that if a candidate has filled this kind of preference, so if you leave even any one state, this person has left a lot of zones and all the states in them. This person has only filled one zone and one state. So in this case, the cadre allocation policy says this candidate will be allocated the state at the end, which means even if you get All India rank 1 and you haven't filled all the states, you won't be getting any state in the beginning. You will be allocated after all the 180 candidates of IAS have been allocated their seats. If any other candidate has also done the same, all those will be clubbed together and will be given seats at the end. Those who will be allocated seats at the beginning are the ones who would have filled all the zones and all the states. So always fill all zones, always fill all states. Do not leave any one state, do not leave any one zone. This is now the system. So as you can see, this is a very good system which ensures that a candidate would want to serve all over India. Otherwise, that person could get a state which is a leftover state which no one wants. Despite getting All India rank 1, that person will be allocated states at the end. So this is generally how you get states. So the reason I am telling complete beginner all these details is you may not be able to understand it all in the beginning. You are just a beginner. You have thought of jumping into the fray for this exam. The reason I am telling you all this is I want you to know that these services are truly all over India, these 21 services. So you can be posted anywhere. There is another difference between the All India services. These two are the All India services and all other 19 services. There are 21 total. There is another difference. In these states, there is cadre system and zonal system. So you will get a state. So you will serve, let's say you serve for 30 years, from age 30 to 60 years of age. You get, let's say you are selected at 30 years of age, retirement is 60, so you will serve for 30 years. For 20 years you will serve in that state at least, and for maximum 10 years I think you can serve in the center, in the ministries, various ministries, in the PSUs, etc, etc. In all the other 19 ones, let's say IFS, IRS, etc, etc, IAAS, you can be posted anywhere in India, in a state, and then you can be shifted to another state. So you could be posted, let's say, as IRS in Haryana, then you are sent to Tamil Nadu, then you get Arunachal Pradesh, then you get Kerala, etc, etc. This cannot happen here. Once you get a state, you serve there. IFS is Indian Foreign Service, so you serve in a foreign land or in the Ministry of External Affairs in Delhi. You aren't sent to any state. So this is the zonal and cadre system in short. For example, this is my IS cadre system. I have filled zone 1 as first. In zone 1 as first, I have filled Haryana as first preference. Since I am from Haryana, I have to fill zone 1, preference 1 as Haryana. Otherwise, I won't get Haryana. Then there is zone 2. Then there is Uttar Pradesh as number 1. So the counter will move something like this. First zone 1, preference 1, Haryana. If I can't get it because either the general category seat is not there or my rank is not good enough and all the seats have gotten filled up, then the counter will move on to next zone 2 preference. Zone 2 is my second preference as zone, then Uttar Pradesh number 1, then from Haryana it will move on to UP, then zone 3 is third, then it will move on to MP, then zone 4th is fifth one. Zone 4th I have filled as Northeast as 5th, so it will move to zone 5th now, which is my 4th preference. In that it will move to Telangana. So something like this would be the movement: Haryana, UP, MP, then Telangana, then Assam, Meghalaya. Then it comes back and I have filled Agmut as my second preference. So in here I have filled, instead of Punjab, Agmut. Later I have filled Punjab here. So I want to travel, and this is the reason that I have filled Agmut as here. Now this is zonal and cadre system in short. There is another system which is known as insider-outsider system. I am from Haryana and Haryana is my home state, so I am an insider in Haryana. If a person from UP is posted in Haryana or is being considered for Haryana, or let's say Arunachal Pradesh is being considered for Haryana, then that person would be an outsider. The insider-outsider seats are divided in the ratio of 1:2. So let's say 3 seats are there in Haryana. Out of those 3 seats, one person can be from Haryana. Let's say for general category, one person has to be from Haryana, and for one person is insider, and for Haryana 2 persons have to be outsider. This is because if no such system would have been there and all the seats would have been open to anyone, let's say there is no insider-outsider system. So let's say 5 seats are there and all India rank 1 to 5 are from Haryana and they have filled Haryana as their first preference. Then all of them will get Haryana, even if they fill all the zones and all the cadres like this, which I had previously shown you just now. Even if they get it, for example, now let's say all of them have filled the previous zonal system Haryana, then UP, then MP, then Telangana, then Assam, Meghalaya, etc. So first All India rank 1 will come. Haryana will be seen. Haryana has a seat, so that person will get a seat, and the number of seats will reduce by 1. 4 seats will be left. The next candidate will come. That person has filled Haryana. Haryana has a seat. That person will get a seat. All India rank 2nd will get the seat, and so on. So what will happen this way is that all the persons will keep on serving in Haryana. There will be no national integration despite there being zones and cadre system. So now insider and outsider seats will ensure that in this case 1:2 division will happen something like this. Either there are total 5 seats now, they cannot be divided into the ratio of 1:2. So either 1 seat will be here and 4 seats will be here, and or 2 seats can be here and 3 seats can be here, and this ratio 1:2 can be maintained in the next years and all the next year and the next years to come, such that overall the number of IAS serving in Haryana are from Haryana and from outside Haryana in the ratio of 1:2. So this is how the central government has ensured that a person from one state can go to other states, can bring national integration, and does not allow a state to secede from the union from the center. So this cadre allocation policy is in huge detail. It's difficult to understand, but once you understand, you just see the sheer brilliance of this policy. This policy has many great things also. For example, for a physically handicapped candidate, the policy says you will get zone 1, seat 1, or you will get whichever seat you have filled as second preference. So let's say a person from physically handicapped is from Haryana, and that person fills zone 1, state 1 as Haryana, and that person fills Punjab, and no other zone and state is filled. So that person will, let's say the person gets last All India rank and there is no seat here. So that person will be shifted here. Now let's say no seat is there in Punjab also. The cadre allocation policy says in that case a seat has to be created even if it wasn't existing. So that person will get either Haryana or Punjab in all cases. There is no chance that a physically handicapped candidate will be forced to serve anywhere in India. That person will get first 2 choices. No other rule applies. Insider-outsider rule doesn't apply. Zonal and cadre system doesn't apply. First 2 preferences, either one the person will get. The first preference can be gotten if there is a physically handicapped seat here in that person's category. Let's say person is from general category. In all other cases, if the seat isn't available here, it has to be created here if it doesn't exist. So as you can see, this is a very good provision for physically handicapped people who don't have to serve anywhere. And that extra seat created can be adjusted next year or next to next year, whatever, but that seat has to be created. So in this way, this cadre allocation policy takes care of national integration, of secessionism, of physically handicapped people, of those people who aren't willing to serve anywhere in India. A person who wants to join the Indian civil services should be willing to serve all over India, and if that person is not willing to serve at least in 1 or 2 states or many other states, then that person should be put at the end, because that person doesn't deserve to be here. Now let's move on to the notification. What is there in the notification? I showed you the notification. This is the first page and it talks about the various 21 services, Group A and Group B. Now let's talk about reservation. Government job, government educational institutions, then private job and private educational institutions. In this case, there is reservation. In private educational institutions, there is reservation. In private jobs, there are no reservations. So let's start. Since this civil service is a government sector job, this is not a job, this is actually a service. The difference between a job and a service is that in case of a job, you aren't expected to go beyond your line of duty. You cannot be told to do anything. You cannot be made to work all night every day. In case of a service, you are responsible for everything and you have to be on your toes all the time, as you should be. Let's start. The reservation goes something like this. There is general, SC, ST, OBC and EWS. This reservation is constitutionally mandated. It is written in the constitution. संविधान में लिखा है. So this reservation has to be provided. For example, EWS is a recent reservation. This refers to economically weaker sections. They come from general category, but once you come in EWS, you are no longer considered general. EWS 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act. That means an act to amend the constitution. And this is the 103rd time since independence. After the constitution was promulgated, we got independence in 1947. Then constitution was promulgated in 1950. So since 1950, 103rd time when the constitution was amended, it was for EWS category. And since constitution was amended, some article of the constitution or schedule of the constitution must be involved. So article 15 clause 6 and article 16 clause 6 were amended. These deal with fundamental rights. We will discuss when we will discuss polity. This article 15 in general deals with government educational institutions. This deals with government jobs. So in both of them, this reservation has been brought in. This means clause under article 15. There is the sixth clause. There was 5 clauses before that, and sixth ones were added in both of them. So this reservation is constitutionally mandated. The general category people are defined as those who don't come in any other category. The SC means scheduled caste. The word they are defined such way. The word schedule means they are the castes which are mentioned in the schedule of the presidential order that declares those castes as scheduled castes. What does that mean? If a caste has to be declared as a scheduled caste, a state will request the center. Haryana will say to the central government that please declare this caste as scheduled caste. So then the center may or may not declare that caste as scheduled caste. Schedule means if the center agrees to declare that caste as a scheduled caste, the president will issue an order known as presidential order. The presidential order will say something like this: the castes mentioned in schedule 1 shall be scheduled castes. The castes mentioned in schedule 2 shall be scheduled tribes. And same for here. This is scheduled tribes. So now this is what the presidential order will say in the beginning. In the schedule 1, the name of SCs will be mentioned, the caste will be mentioned. Then in the number in schedule 2, scheduled tribes will be there. So this is the meaning of the word schedule and scheduled tribe here. Now there is OBC, other backward classes. These SCs and STs are the one who have been denigrated the most in the past. They were at the lowest level of Hindu caste grouping and they have suffered the most. All others who haven't suffered equally but have suffered because they were considered in the lower hierarchy but not the lowest one, come in other backward classes and they get reservation. EWS is economically weaker. They haven't suffered socially. Only these ones have suffered socially. They have suffered economically, so they are poor. And the EWS reservation is 10%. The OBC reservation is 27.5%, ST is 7.5%, this is 15%, so this becomes 50%, and this becomes 60%, so the rest 40% are for general category. The general category people get 40% of seats. So now in IAS, in the civil service exam, let's say total 800 seats are there, then the seat allocation will happen this way: 60% will be reserved, 40% will be for general. So if 800 seats come for general category, there are 320 seats, and for them the rest, this means reserved. For reserved there will be 480 seats. This also happens within the services. So for example, for IAS, let's say 180 seats have come, then for general category there will be 4%, that is 72 seats, and for the rest reserved will be 108, and this way the seat allocation takes place. Reservation is a good provision. I am from general category, and as I have shown you, I have given 6 attempts, but still I couldn't made it. So still I couldn't make it till now. I have interview now, let's see what happens. So I have suffered a lot at the hands of reservation, but I am in favor of reservation because I believe that yes, these people have suffered a lot and they need reservation. There are some issues, for example, people hate reservation, especially those from general category, but I don't. I think that they have suffered. There could be some issues, for example, targeting isn't proper, those who don't deserve it are getting the benefit, etc., etc. But all these problems remain in a vast and diverse country like India, where there are 125 crore people. These SC, ST, OBC people have actually suffered a lot. If you will study for this exam social issues, you will see how much they have suffered. There are news reports every day of lynching, of rape, of Dalit women, etc., etc. And hence I support reservation. It's a different proposition for everyone. Some people support reservation, some don't. It's up to you. Now let's see the number of attempts. I told you that general category person gets 6 attempts or 32 years of age, whichever occurs earlier. For SCs and STs, there is only age 37 years. There is no attempt limit. You can keep on giving attempts till you reach 37 years of age. For OBC, there is 9 attempts or 35 years of age, whichever occurs earlier. For EWS is same as general, so 6 or 32. You can see the notification for details. Since I am from general category, I am only sure about general category. Rest I have read from the notification. This is known as vertical reservation. There is another thing like horizontal reservation. Vertical reservation means if a person belongs to one category, that person cannot belong to any other category. If you are EWS, you cannot be OBC. If you fill OBC in the form, you cannot claim reservation for SC. This is vertical reservation. There is another known as horizontal reservation. It means that you can be a member of 2 reservations at the same time. For example, physically handicapped. Physically handicapped person can be from any of these categories. So that person can claim reservation for both physically handicapped and from being SC, as the case may be. In this case, the physically handicapped, the notification says a physically handicapped person will get as many attempts as of those categories, subject to the criterion that that person will get 9 attempts. So that person will get 9 attempts. Here there are no attempts, only age, so that person will get attempts. Here there are already 9 attempts. Here the person will get 9 attempts. Also, age relaxation will be 10 years. So instead of 32, it will be 42. For 37, it will be 47. For 35, it will be 45. For 32, it will be 42. So physically handicapped will get 9 attempts or 42, whichever is earlier. For EWS, please see the notification for details. I am not sure about all this. I just took a look at the notification to tell you. There are a lot of details also. For example, which type of physically handicapped is allowed, the representation of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act, I think 2016, says at least 40% benchmark disability should be there. Such people are called people with benchmark disability. This is the benchmark which you need to cross to claim reservation under physically handicapped. If you are, let's say, 39% or less, you don't come under disabled category. The UPSC notification also says, suppose you fill the form from general category, you give prelims or mains, and then you meet with an accident and you become physically handicapped, having 40% physically handicapped at least. In that case, the notification is so detailed that it says that you can claim physically handicapped now instead of general. Let's move on. I told you that an attempt at prelim will count as an attempt at the exam, and one of your attempts will be struck off even if you sit only for one exam. Now in the case of various services, IAS, IPS, IFS, etc., there are some rules. What are those rules? For IAS, IPS and IFS, these are considered premier services, the best services. So in this case, only citizen of India is allowed, no other person is allowed. For all of them, citizen of India, citizen of Nepal, Bhutan, refugee from Pakistan, Afghanistan, etc., etc., anyone can come. So this is the rule. The date of birth accepted by the commission is the one in your 10th class certificate or equivalent. No other date of birth is allowed, is acceptable, and you cannot change your date of birth once you have filled it in your form. Degree is compulsory for this exam. If you haven't gotten any degree and you are in your last year of your college, last year of graduation, degree here means graduation, and if you are in the last year of your graduation, you can fill the form, you can give prelims, but when DAF 1 is to be filled, if you clear prelims, then for before mains you have to fill DAF 1 where you have to upload your documents. You must get your degree, else you cannot appear in mains. Now there are some technicalities involved. Since these three are the premier services, there are some technicalities involved. What are those technicalities? You are a beginner. I am assuming that you are a beginner. I am making these videos for complete beginners. So let's say you give your first attempt and you want IAS. You have filled in your service preference, IAS first, then IPS, then IFS, etc., etc. Or let's say you fill IFS and IPS, etc., etc. So what will happen? Let's say you get a rank which is not good enough for IAS. You get a rank at the back, a little lower one, but you are good for IFS. So you will be allocated IFS. The rule says for those candidates who get IAS or IFS cannot give any more exams. The reason is that in the eyes of UPSC and DOPT, these services are the most premier, these two, IAS and IFS. A candidate who has been allocated to these services cannot fill the form again. So what you should do is, suppose your dream is IAS and you want to become an IAS more than IFS. So now in this case what you should do is, you should fill at the back, you should fill something like this, IRS then IFS, so that you don't get allocated IFS. If you are allocated IFS in any of your attempts and you want to become an IAS, you have to give the exam again. So in that case the only option is to resign. UPSC says if you don't want IFS, you have to resign to give the form again for IAS. So now let's say the person knows this and fills the preference this way. This is how the person has filled. In this case, what will happen? Let's say the person gets rank which is not good enough for IAS. Then the counter moves here, computer goes here, then it will move on to IPS. Let's say the person get IPS. Now IAS has 180 seats, IPS has generally 150 seats, this year it has 200 seats. For IFS, there are generally only 30-40 seats. So the services close this way. First IAS closes, then IFS closes, then other closes. So now when the counter moves here IPS, the candidate will think that either I will get IPS, or if my rank isn't good enough for IPS, then obviously I won't get IFS and I will get something under. So I have eliminated IFS. This is not true. You can still get IFS. Here's how. Let me repeat. The IAS has the most number of seats, generally 180. IPS has second highest number of seats, generally 150. IFS has one of the least number of seats, only 30 to 40 seats every year. So how does the counter close? IAS is wanted by most of the people, so IAS closes first, despite having the highest number of seats. And then closes IFS because this is also in high demand and seats are less. So IPS closes even later because number of seats are high and most people either fill it as second or third preference, and some of the girls don't fill this. There is no reason for girls not to fill IPS. IPS is considered very good for girls. It is just a myth that in IPS is for girls, IPS is not suitable. IPS is suitable for both boys and girls, and girls have done a great job as a member of IPS. So now let's say the person fills this way. So the person will say either I will get IAS, or if my rank isn't good enough I will get IPS. There is no way that I can get IFS and the counter will move here. Let's say I have filled IRS here, IAAS here, and so on. In this case, that person is wrong. That person can still get IFS. Here is how. I told you that all these 21 services are divided into two, technical and non-technical. The technical ones are the ones, the police ones, IPS, DANEPS, PONDEPS, all the police services. The non-technical ones are the rest, IAS, IFS, IRS, and so on. For these, special criteria is required. So let's say IAS closes at 180, the person gets rank 181. The person won't get IAS, that person will go to IPS. But if that person doesn't fill any of the special criterion for IPS, let's say the person is colorblind, or the person has flat foot, or the person doesn't have height, or the person doesn't have chest, or the person doesn't have chest expansion. Height required is 165 cm, chest is 84 cm, chest expansion is 5 cm. So let's say any of the person, if person doesn't have any of this, then that person won't get this and the counter will move here. That person will get IFS. So if you are giving your first attempt, do not fill this way when you move on to your interview stage. You must fill it something like this. For IPS, then IRS, then IFS. In this case, both IRS and IFS are non-technical. So even if you can't get this because you don't have a rank, and you can't get this because you don't have special criterion, special requirements, so you will definitely get this which closes very late, and you cannot get this under any circumstances. So for those who are giving their first attempt, this is the rule that if you get IS, you cannot give the paper again, you cannot fill the prelims form again, you have to resign. If you have been allocated IFS, you have to resign otherwise you cannot give the paper again. There are a lot of candidates who filled this way, IAS, IPS, IFS. They couldn't get a rank which was good enough for IAS, and they thought that they won't get IFS because they will get IPS, but they didn't have the special requirements for IPS also, so they got IFS. And now resigning is very difficult. You may not get anything later. If you resign, what is the guarantee that you will get another service? If it is your first attempt, you can think of resigning, but if it is your third, fourth, fifth attempt, resigning is not a good option. So those people who didn't want IFS but were allocated IFS are now serving in the IFS despite not wanting IFS. So for those who are the beginners, when you have to fill the form, do not fill this way. Always fill something like this. This way you will never get IFS and you can keep on giving the paper till you get IAS. First rule. This is the first rule. There is a second rule in this one. What is that rule? Since these three are the premier services, and of these three services, these two are the most premier ones, IAS and IFS. So for these, you cannot give the paper again. For IPS, you can give the paper again, but you cannot fill IPS again. So for example, let's say person in the first attempt fills like this. That person gets a rank which is not good enough for IAS but is good enough for IPS, and that person also satisfies special requirement. That person has height, chest extension, that person isn't colorblind, he or she is not flat-footed and fulfills all the criteria, so that person is allocated IPS. But let's say in IPS also, that person is allocated a last rank. So the person fills the zones and the cadres, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4th, zone 5th, then the counter keeps moving. So now because let's say the person has gotten a last rank, so the person is from Haryana and the counter keeps moving and that person gets Kerala. Let's say this is one of the last that person has filled. So now what that person will think is, I don't want Kerala. That person may say that I don't want Kerala, so I want to give the paper again and I will fill the cadre choices again and I may get a better state or I may get IAS also. So the policy states that if you get IPS, you cannot get IPS in your next attempt or any other one. If you want to fill IPS again, you have to resign. In this case, you couldn't give the paper. You cannot fill the prelims form. In this case, you can fill the form. You can fill 20 services out of 21. You cannot fill IPS. In IPS, you will get the state which you got in any of your previous attempts. This is the rule. This is because IPS is again considered as a premier services and UPSC doesn't want people to keep on changing cadre and keep on giving exam to change your cadre. This is especially true because let's say a person says, I want to be an IPS only and I don't want IAS. There are a lot of people who want IPS as first preference because they want uniform, they want the power prestige of a police officer, they want a lot of authority also, and they want to serve in the field for most of the time. So IPS is good for them, and many candidates fill this as first preference. So in that case, if you are allocated at the last, you will serve there. If you want to fill IPS again and if you want to change your cadre, you have to resign. You can think of resigning if it's your first attempt. Even that is not recommended. But if it is your third, fourth, fifth or sixth attempt, your last attempt, obviously resigning is a bad option. In this case, you can fill the form again. You cannot get IPS, but you can get any of these also. So let's say a person is allocated IPS Kerala. Next year that person can fill something like this. Or if the person thinks that these are lower services than IPS, I don't want them, so person can only fill these two. In that case, if the person gets any of them, that person may or may not resign from IPS job and may continue depending on what that person gets. For example, let's say person gets IPS Kerala and that person gets IAS rank. Now that IAS rank is gotten something like this for then again zonal and cadre system is there in IAS. IAS and IPS have zone and cadre system. These are the only two all India services, that is AIS. So now the cadre moves again. Let's say person gets last rank here again. So that person may get, let's say, Nagaland. So that person will say that instead of IAS Nagaland, I am okay with IPS Kerala and I will continue, and that person may or may not get IAS, may not want IAS and hence reject it. You are always offered a choice. There is no guarantee that you need to join a service. UPSC simply offering you the service. What does that mean? It means, let's say it's your first attempt and you get IAS Mizoram and you are from, let's say, Haryana, and if you don't want it, you can in the beginning itself not join the service and reject it. Similarly, if you get Armed Forces Headquarters service in your first attempt, which is generally filled at the last, this is a Group B service and this is generally filled at the last. So let's say in the first attempt you get this service and you don't want this service, so you may not join in the beginning itself. So it doesn't mean that, let's say in the first attempt, if you get IPS and in the second attempt you get IFS, then you won't be automatically shifted from IPS to IFS. This is simply an offer. You may choose to remain in your service. This is the rule. But if you choose to join IFS, then these rules apply. You cannot give the paper again. If you don't choose to join IFS, then you stay in IPS and whatever cadre you have gotten, that cadre stays. You stay in that cadre, in that state. You cannot change your state and you cannot give the paper again simply to change the state. You can get any other service although. So this is how the system proceeds. Since many candidates tend to resign if they get something at the last, let's say a person gets AFHQ or IFOS, Indian Ordnance Factory Services, which are generally filled at the last, or let's say Pondicherry Civil Service, Pondicherry Police Service, and then the person doesn't want to join, that person wants to keep on giving attempts, so when they are offered these services, because they have gotten last ranks, they may say that we don't want to join. In that case, what happens is, let's say 800 seats are there, so UPSC brings two lists. The first list is the merit list, which comes in the beginning, which talks of All India rank to All India rank 750. The rest 50 come in list 2, which is known as reserved list. In reserved list, those people, if people resign, then the people from reserved list, there are 100 people here, total 850 people are there in the list, 800 seats are there. So if some people resign from here, some of them can move on here. All of them can't move on here because they are more than the number of seats. So from reserved list, some people can move here. There are also some other rules. I tell you later in the notification. There is another rule why reserved list exists. Let's move on. If you are a member of any existing government job, you have to tell your HOD, head of department, that you have applied for civil service. You do not need the permission, you just need to tell that person that I have applied for the civil service person. That person cannot revoke the permission, but if that person, if your HOD writes to the UPSC that this person appeared in the civil services prelims without informing me, then UPSC can reject your application. Even if you clear civil service prelims, you may not be allowed to sit in the mains. There shouldn't be any cheating by you in this exam. Firstly, cheating is wrong, and most importantly, if you are caught cheating, then you are barred from UPSC as well as from all state public service commissions, and you cannot attempt those papers also. So you cannot become IS IPS also, and you cannot become Haryana Administrative Service, Haryana Police Service, UP Administrative Service, UP Police Service, and all other. Just like UPSC is offering you 21 services, these state services also offer from 15 to 25 services. Uttar Pradesh Administrative Service, Uttar Pradesh Police Service, then Tehsildar, and so on. In all of these, you cannot appear. So please don't think of cheating. Let's move forward. I told you that in prelims there are two papers, GS and CSAT, and in CSAT you need 67 marks. The civil service mains exam has many papers, for example GS 124, essay, optional 1-2. Then there are two papers whose marks are uncounted, English and language paper. You can choose to write any of them. You have to write English paper in English only, and the language paper in the language you have chosen. You can choose to write in them in any of one language of the 22 language present in the Schedule 8th of the Constitution. The Schedule 8th of the Constitution has many languages which are known as the languages spoken by majority in India. This includes Hindi also. You can choose to write any of these papers in one language. You cannot choose one different language for this and different for this. You have to choose one language for all of them. English has to be given in English, and language paper has to be given in the language you have chosen. Again, the interview. For interview also, you can choose these 22 languages which include Hindi, or you can choose English. But if you write these papers in English or Hindi, then your interview can only happen in English or Hindi. There are a lot of other details also. There is another interesting provision. These 22 languages are spoken by a lot of people, but let's say a candidate is from Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Mizoram or Manipur, etc., Meghalaya, northeast states. Then that person may be speaking a language, that person may belong to a small tribe, and that language may not be heard. So in that case, that person is allowed to not sit for this exam, and that person automatically qualifies this exam. These two were qualifying exam, that person only has to sit for English. These are obviously compulsory, these marks are counted. This is a very thoughtful provision for those who do not speak a majoritarian language, a language spoken by a lot of people, and they can also appear in the paper. Now there is a provision for reserved category people. let's say a person who is an SC candidate, for example, All India rank 1 in the past, Kanishk Kataria was an SC candidate, I think, and that person cleared all the cutoffs, prelims, mains, interview from general category itself. For general category people, in prelims, cutoff is generally 100. For CSAT, for everyone, cutoff is 67, irrespective of your criterion, irrespective of your caste. For prelims, you need 100 marks. For SC, let's say marks are 80. So let's say there is a person who clears prelims with 100 marks, at least 100 marks, despite being from SC category. For mains also, let's say he clears the general cutoff. For interview also, that person clears general cutoff. In that case, that person won't be considered an SC. That person will be given the seat of general category person, and this seat will be given to the next SC candidate who deserves reservation, because that person cannot clear with general cutoff. And if many other candidates can clear this way, all of them will become general. General cannot become SC, ST in any case or any other category. Those category can become general if they clear it. Also, let's say the person clears prelims with general category cutoff, then that person won't be considered SC for prelims result. For mains result, let's say the person again clears with general, so that person won't be cleared, won't be considered general till mains. But in the interview stage, when the final marks are counted, that person is getting IPS as general if that SC candidate is considered general. But if that considered candidate is considered SC, then that person is getting IAS. Then the rule states that the person will be allocated higher service, that is IAS, and in that case SC seat won't be converted to general. So in this way, this is a very good provision, because the motive behind the providing a reservation is that those people who have truly suffered can benefit, and if a person isn't using the benefit allocated to him or her, that benefit should be transferred to someone who deserves it more. And besides, if an SC candidate is clearing all the cutoffs of general category, there is no reason that that person should take away the seats of those who are those seats which are reserved for the less fortunate. I have told you about reserve list also. Then for prelims there is cutoff, there is negative marking. Prelims paper will be in English and Hindi. Mains paper, every question will be in English or Hindi, but you can choose to write them in any of the languages. Now the people who don't need to write English language, the qualifying paper of English and language, there in mains there were English and language paper which were qualifying. The language paper is not to be written by the people who belong to Arunachal, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Nagaland and Sikkim. For all others, they have to write these papers. This paper, this which is a qualifying paper. These candidates are exempted because they may belong to a tribe for which the 22 languages in the 8th schedule of the constitution, they don't speak any of them, and they are a small tribe which speaks any other language. So obviously they won't be able to clear the language paper otherwise. Also, this paper is not to be given by those physically handicapped who are hearing impaired, who cannot listen, who are deaf. For Hindi, the script is Devanagari. Devanagari script means This is the script. Script means how a sound is written. So when her sound is written this way, this means script. Then there are a lot of optional subjects, for example, agriculture, animal husbandry and veterinary science, anthropology, botany, chemistry, civil engineering, commerce and accountancy, economics, electrical engineering, geography, geology, history, law, management, math, mechanical engineering, medical science, philosophy, physics, political science and international relations, psychology, public administration, sociology, statistics, zoology, literature. These are some of the subjects. Then there are literature also. So either you can choose these subjects for your optional, which I just spoke, or you can also choose a literature of any of the following languages: Assamese, Bengali, Bodo, Dogri, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Kashmiri, Konkani, Maithili, Malayalam, Manipuri, Marathi, Nepali, Odia, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Santhali, Sindhi, Tamil, Telugu, Urdu and English. So both English and Hindi are there. You can choose either any of those subjects which I spoke. For example, I chose anthropology, or you can also choose literature of these languages. This is the language paper. This will be simple. Only language will be tested. This is the literature paper. And in mains, this is the mains has GS 1 to 4, then essay, then optional, then this is your optional. This its marks are counted, so this has to be a little difficult and complicated to select better candidates. So literature is asked. You are given poems and essays, and then other Hindi. For example, in case of Hindi, you can be given essay, that is nibandh, and you can be there could be written a poem, that is a kavita, and then you can be told to describe it. So this is the difference. For example, there was a girl. She was All India rank second. She was from Kerala. In Kerala, Malayalam language is spoken. So she chose Malayalam literature as her optional. So you can do that too. If you are physically handicapped, let's say you don't have hands or you don't have eyes, in that case you cannot write your paper yourself. So that person gets the facility of a scribe. Scribe means a person who writes the paper on your behalf. Either you can bring your own scribe, or UPSC can allocate a scribe. You will dictate the paper to the scribe, and then scribe will write it. Then there are criterions for specs. For specs, the power can be from +6 to -6 diopters. For example, the specs I am wearing is of the power -4 diopters, so I am eligible. If your power is outside this, let's say +7 diopter or -7 diopters of your specs, even then you are eligible. You will be checked by a special ophthalmic board in the medical stage, and most of the people who have higher or lower power than these are also selected, so that's not a problem. You shouldn't think that your specs would interfere and you may be finally rejected despite working hard. Most probably most of the people are selected, and this requirement is only there for technical services, that is the police services, etc. For non-technical service, that is IAS, IFS, etc., everything is fine. Blind people have made it to the IAS. I am from Narayangarh, which is a subdivision. In subdivision, an SDM sits, and SDM can be from IAS or Haryana Civil Service also, that is Haryana Administrative Service. Haryana Civil Service is the general term. Haryana Civil Service includes all the civil services of Haryana. For example, Haryana Administrative Service, Haryana Police Service, Tehsildar, etc. etc. So once an SDM came to Narayangarh, and SDM was posted in my my place right now in Nayangarh. She was blind and she was a member of IAS. So even blind people are allowed under physically handicapped criteria. So don't worry about your eyes. Then for preliminary exam, detailed syllabus is mentioned. You must take a look at this notification in the beginning of your preparation as well as during the preparation. You should keep coming back to these notification to know the details about this exam. You should keep talking to your friends every day about this exam, what are the developments, how to choose an optional, etc., etc. In the next class, when I will tell you about Indian Foreign Service in detail, I will tell you some tips and tricks to fill IS form, some tricks and tricks to select optional. After that, you can make the decision. All these classes, 3-4 classes in the beginning which I have conducted, are simply to teach you this, which will come in the next class. Then main syllabus is there for essay. For essay paper, it is said that general topics will be asked for which no special requirement is there for studying. For IS exam also, UPSC says in the notification that its purpose is to select simple general people who do not require subject specialization and specialized study. And many people have made it to the service despite being in a job, despite having a girlfriend also, girlfriend or boyfriend as the case may be. So after that there is syllabus for GS2, GS3, GS4. This syllabus is in huge detail. There is a lot of myth regarding this paper that the syllabus is infinite. This is wrong. Syllabus isn't infinite, it is finite. In fact, for your benefit, it has been given in the paper in great detail, and if you finish all the most of the syllabus mentioned in the paper, you don't need to worry about the questions coming from outside. If you have prepared the mentioned syllabus well and you don't know a question in the paper, rest assured that only you don't know. Others also don't know that question, so you don't need to worry about that question. The syllabus isn't infinite. Most of the things asked are mentioned in the syllabus. Most of the people who have made it to the service, as well as almost all of those who don't make it to the service, do not read the syllabus in great detail. Read every single word. Every single word can come as a 10 marker or 15 marker or even 20 marker question. And if you aren't able to attempt this question, you are losing marks which everyone else will gain, so you will be automatically out of this exam. So always focus on this syllabus and read it in great detail. And then there is optional. From here on starts the various optionals and this syllabus. Agriculture, paper 1, then agriculture, paper 2, then animal husbandry and veterinary science, paper 1, then paper 2, and so on. Most of the 180 pages of this notification comprise of the syllabus of this exam. So this is the notification in some detail. At the last of the notification are mentioned some of the criterion. For example, for IPS, 165 cm for men height is required, 84 cm chest is required, 5 cm expansion is required. For IPS, for men, the height is 165 cm, chest is 79 cm unexpanded and 84 cm expanded. You require 5 cm chest expansion. This is the minimum. If you have more, that's fine also. Also, UPSC has taken care of those people who do not have such height because they are scheduled tribes. They have been living in the forest for a long time and they do not, most of the people do not have these heights. So the UPSC has written that Gorkha, Gadwali, Assamese, Kumaoni, Nagaland tribals, etc., whose height is less, for them only 150 centimeter is required. And similarly, the minimum height is 160 also for races such as again Gorkha, Assamese, Kumaunis. This is for IRTS. Okay. It is 160 centimeter, not 150 centimeter for IPS. For IRTS service, which has been removed now from the paper, it was 150. This is the notification. This is of 180 pages. It is strongly recommended that you read it back at your home. It is available on the internet. Please read it in detail, especially focus on the syllabus mentioned for prelims, mains, and for interviews there is no such syllabus mentioned. But for interview also a lot of things are mentioned which you should study. For example, in interview it is mentioned that we will test intellectual and intellectual integrity, moral integrity, etc. Brevity of expression is valued. For mains, it is written that marks will not be allocated for mere superficial knowledge, and depth of understanding will be checked. Again, for mains also, when the paper will come in your hand, on top of the questions a line will be written that content of the answer is more important than its length. So for 10 marker question, if 150 words are to be written, if you have written 150 words and another person has written only 100 words, that person can get higher marks if that person has written relevant content and made diagrams also. And if you haven't written anything relevant, even if you have written 150 words, you may get less marks or 0 also. So notification is in huge detail. You should study it thoroughly. In the next class, I will tell you about my journey from 2013 till to 2021 this year. Then I will tell you how mains forms looks like and how it is different from the form provided by the coaching institutes. Then we will come on to Indian Forest Service notification. Here is the Forest Service notification, and after the Forest Service notification, I will finally tell you how to fill the IS form and how to select the optional. Okay friends, thank you.